Okay, my name's Rood. I'm an architect and a builder, and lived here in the valley for a little over 50 years. Uh, I have an architectural practice with my partner Rob Bast. Bast and Rood Architects is the name of our firm. We've, over the years, done a whole mix of different kinds of projects, commercial and residential. I kind of prefer the residential myself because it's so much more personal in terms of whoever the client is, and their relationship to the project is much more personal and intimate than a commercial project. But we like it all. I've lived in Bobby and I, but my wife is Bobby. We've lived in, I guess, 4 houses that we've designed and built here in the valley. This building is the first building that I have not designed myself. We were asked to design a building system that was easy to transport, easy to put together with almost no tools, and could be taken apart again and stored and put up someplace else. And the venue that we were able to do that in was for the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, the annual event that they had there, which is kind of like the Olympics, where all of a sudden pavilions go up all over the place, and the requirement is that you build it in 10 days, whatever it is you're building, and take it down in 5 days. So, obviously it has to be a system that is conducive to that. So Bill and I thought, space frame would be a way to go, and the space frame differs from normal framing system. Normal framing system will span from one side to another, usually with joists or beams. A space frame spans in 2 directions simultaneously. It's more like a diaphragm, which makes it flexible in terms of what you can do with it. So this was my first attempt at the space frame, just making it out of electrical conduit. And when I started, I figured what we needed to do was to design a hub that the straight pieces could fit into. So you can see I made, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those nodes. And I just wanted to build something to try it out, make sure it worked. But I got 6 of those done and say, that is a lot of work. Why don't I just squish the ends of the straight pieces and bolt them together, which is how I completed this. And then if we walk down to that structure, that's the next prototype that I built. And you'll see it uses that. I abandoned the idea of making the node and gravitated towards just making, this is one, the floor, the walls, and the roof are all made out of,
I don't want to be in the film.
yeah,
Go on.
they're all made out of these pieces. And you can see there's a straight piece, and then there's this bent piece here. And it bolts together, so you don't need to cut anything. You don't need to measure anything. You need a wrench, right? You bolt it together. And then when you take it apart, all these pieces, they're just angle irons. They nest together. Obviously, this is just a prototype, but the structure we build in Switzerland it's about 1,000 square feet, and it's actually a larger scale than this. The pieces are, instead of this 2 foot by 2 foot grid, it's more like 1 meter by 1 meter. This will span 14 feet, this system here, 14 feet with 50 pounds a square foot on it, which is a normal residential load. The one we build in Switzerland will span 30 feet with the same kind of load on it. But yeah, it's very versatile, and it looks cool. I think. The one we do in Switzerland, we keep the structure on the inside, on the outside, and then put the skin of the building on the inside of the structure. So I can show you some photos of that if you'd like. But it's a really fun process. We've done it for, I guess, 9 years in a row now. So, and when you pack it up, it fits into a container. Ship it around wherever you need to go.
So each year it's a different project?
It's all, we build the same project every year.
Oh.
I mean, you know, minor changes, but mostly cosmetic. Oh, let's move the big screen TV over to the side, or let's put another heater in, or another fan in, or whatever. The building itself is pretty much the same. It gets assembled on the roof of another building, so it's on a like a 150-year-old one-story flat roof, and we built it up on there. And they have meetings in it, you know. For all the there, that is a house. The other two that you're looking at are storage sheds.
Oh,
Also, which that's a typical 2-week yestermorrow project.
Okay.
Is to get somebody, you know, something about that scale built.
What's the square footage of the black one? It's about 1,800?
Big. I think it's closer to 1,000. The footprint
Oh,
is
really?
the footprint is 22 by 22. So one floor is. Then you build the second floor, and then you build the second floor walls. Balloon frame means you build the walls all the way from the foundation to the roof at once. Put them up, which is what they did here. Insulated, sheetrocked, finished, and then built all the levels inside. And there are
Oh, really?
there are a lot of levels in there. It's almost like a jungle gym inside.
Oh, wow.
Which is
So
really-
lots of stairs. Like
Yeah.
3 steps at a time or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we have that siding on our house.
Yeah, that's metal. siding.
Yeah, it's metal.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. It's like extraordinary. Yeah. Do any structural changes to it?
You can do. We don't have any legal requirements that anybody do anything. I mean, right now it's an informal process. We're hoping that somebody like yourself would show up and say, "God, this thing is fantastic. You know, I want it." And you know, and no, we're not going to put any restrictions on it. You'll see when you go inside. It's basically a 2-room, 2-bedroom house. If you wanted to add to it, it's difficult. This is a difficult house to add to.
Okay.
You know, what are you going to do? Build off the side here or something? You know, cover up
Yeah.
parts of it. What I think we would do, and we have contemplated ourselves, is to have a transparent bridge coming out through that wall over to it. So there's a, you know, visually tenuous connection between the two, nothing that kind of gloms onto this building and messes it up.
Reforms it, yeah.
Yeah, but we might. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah. But are there still lots of stairs? Is
You'll
it
s-
2 floors? Yeah.
There's more than 2 floors.
Really?
I mean, basically it's 2 floors, yes, but
Well,
it,
right. So that's not bad.
no, it's just little stairs all over the place. So,
Yeah.
you know, we had a dog. Unfortunately,
And then I don't want to forget about you describing this door.
sure, yeah, we can do that when we come back in. Or I don't know. You want to do the door right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do the door now.
Ready? So what's cool? front door is, I think, a real opportunity on any house. It kind of signals to somebody walking up to the house what you're interested in, or how interested are you in design. So this is not just a hollow core Luan door. what was designed by a student, and what they did is incorporate the floor plan of the building into the door. So this shape right here is the shape of this, red part of the building sitting on the ground, and there's actually a basement under that. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 piers, which are these concrete Y-shaped piers behind us that support most of the building. And then this out here is a foundation of similar size to this, which we use as a garden, basically. But the building, when you look at it from the side, it looks like the building is kind of decomposing as it arrives or strives to arrive onto this foundation, which doesn't have anything built on it. And then this down here is the river. So it situates the building in its context and in its landscape, and looks cool. And when you stand up here on this platform, you get that view straight through all the piers.
So, all right, and so are these like found? This found piece from some other structure?
I wasn't involved in the construction of this building, but that is a grate that you can just buy this kind of grate. But the shape of it was manufactured by the students to obviously reflect. And you see this line here lines up with the edge of the building. This lines up with that edge of the building. There's more design per square inch in this building than almost any building that you would look at. Down to, you'll see when you get inside, the light switches are design opportunities. The kitchen counter is a design opportunity. The drawer pulls are a design opportunity. Everything is a design opportunity.
But the original vision doesn't come from like a boat, or like what's the original?
It's really important, I think, in any architectural project, probably in any creative project, is to figure out, and this is actually, I think you've met John Anderson. John Anderson gave a lecture recently at the gallery, actually, called What's the Big Idea? And that is really important, I think, in any design effort, is to actually have a big idea and then make sure that it's central to your problem-solving process. Whether you're designing a light switch or the concrete piers or these beams here or whatever you're designing, to make sure that it relates to whatever the big idea originally was. And the big idea is what holds all that together. If you're totally unstructured and you're just adding on, wild ideas here, there, and whatever, it's going to be a pastiche of. It's not going to hold together if it doesn't have some central structure. So the big idea here, it started from, if you took a 4x4, say, piece of wood, and you cut it at a 45-degree angle, and then you take that piece, join it on like that, so it comes up and over. And so the cross-section through this building is 16 by 16. It's a square. The square that comes up out of the ground and then turns and goes out that way. And because it has that very simple, basic idea behind it, it's just a 4x4 cut one time. All the things that have been added to it, be it, weird dormers on the side or oddball-shaped windows or, just everything you look at here, I think, anchored by that very basic, simple, original idea. Not sure that a lot of people coming in here think of it as a boat, or think it reminds them of a boat, especially the north end of it, which looks like the prow of a ship. Don't think that was what the students were thinking. I think it just ended up like that. And probably, I mean, other than the shape, I mean, it has kind of the shape of a hull, but I think the fact that it's so self-contained, we were talking about whether or not, or how would you add on to this house, a very difficult house to add on to, because it's so much of a jewel, kind of. It's a complete structure. It doesn't lend itself to, oh, let's add on 1,000 feet over here. So I think that self-contained part of it is reminiscent of a boat. You know, you wouldn't take a sailboat and say, let's put an addition on the side of the sailboat. Right? Obviously, you wouldn't do that. And I think it's the same deal with this building.
Alrighty.
I'll let you get on this side of the door so I don't push you off of the. So you're coming up into the main space of the house. Let's call it the living room, dining room. Open to the kitchen. And as I was discussing when we were downstairs, because of the diamond shape of the building, the floor level that we're standing on right here is actually narrow-ish. You can't get by the bathroom to get to the other side without kind of getting up on either side, the way the kitchen floor is, and the hallway that we can walk down in a minute.
So, what's the feeling? You know, like living here. You reckon?
Oh, it's really nice to live in here. It's it's just
it's integrated experience, like like an open floor plan, I guess, right? You have your kitchen.
It's an open floor plan.
Yeah.
It's not a terribly large house.
Yeah.
In a minute we can go down. There's a bedroom at the other end, and there's a loft upstairs that a guest could sleep in. I use it as desk space, and my drafting table is up there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a fun place to live. I mean, it's not boring. You can sit anywhere and look at an interesting aspect of the building. These two walls are solar walls. It's a version of something called a trombe wall, Trombe, which is the traditional trombe wall is glass in front of a masonry built wall. So if this was masonry, you can see there's space between the glass and the wall. And if you feel in there, it's quite hot enough so you actually don't want to leave your hand there. So the hot air is absorbed partially in the wall, and some of it comes through the openings, so you get some direct gain. We could be opening a few more. This is an odd time of year, right? You wake up in the morning and it's cold, and then you get a couple hours into the day and it's warm. But it works quite well, as I think you can feel. But here, come on back here. You can see the bedroom and the deck. So, students designed these stained glass light fixtures in the ceiling. There's a light switch that a student designed. Where does the tile work as you step down into the building, into the room? There's just design all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Boat-like on this end, for sure.
Oh. Whoosh. Cool. So this is cantilevered out. What's that proportion again for when you?
It's usually 2/3, 1/3.
2/3.
Yeah. But yeah, you can see the foundation that the building is reaching for. The only thing that actually reaches is the ridge beam and one column. And you can see what's alluded to here is it goes from it goes from the actual building to being outside, but still solid roof, and then it becomes transparent roof, and then it becomes just framing, and then it becomes just the ridge beam. So it's a concept. It's conceptual.
Has this building here influenced your practice?
I'm retired now, so this really is towards the end of my practice, not the beginning of my practice, that's for sure. I've been associated with John Connell and all the people up at Prickley. I've never lived at Prickley, but consider myself and as a family kind of part of that community. And that community, which is basically a community of architects and designers and artists, is, yes, influential on anybody who is part of that community, I think. So that's probably, I'd say this building influenced me before I ever acquired it. But here you can really see the cross section of the building. It's just a 16 by 16 square. You can really get a sense of that.
What was the, you hear a lot about the Prickleys. What is the underlying premise that you all had commonly?
I think a couple things.
Yeah.
Probably the primary one is, I mentioned the three things that we have people.
Can you mention that again?
Affordability,
Yeah.
energy conservation, and architectural merit. And of those three, I think all three of those things are important to the general Prickley community. But probably the most important thing to all of us is architectural merit. To be trying something else out. Let's try a different idea. I mean, just here we are standing, why not use roofing for siding, for example? Just try it out, see how it works. And so that experimentation, I think, is really important. The other really key and pervasive aspect of pretty much everything up at Prickley and this building is that it's design build, and as you're probably aware, there has been a real separation between architects and builders, kind of two different professions that should be closely related, maybe should even be the same profession, but have come far enough apart that builders don't necessarily appreciate design, and designers don't appreciate building and what it takes to build and what you can learn from building. And the design build process, as I think I was just explaining to you with that space frame out there, while you're making something, you're learning. You try something out, and if you're literally putting it together yourself with your hands, you say, oh, this is kind of hard, maybe there's an easier way to do it, or a better way to do it. And that becomes more easily apparent if you're designing it and building it yourself, and you're able to modify the design as you're building and respond to just circumstances that come up during construction, or opportunities that come up during construction. So say those are the two things that are fundamental to most of the people in the Prickly community.
So are you gonna continue, building or doing some kind of,
It's what I do for fun.
yeah,
That's why I chose it as a profession. You know, I started out building tree houses and little stone structures when we lived in Italy, and you know,
wow.
I've been doing design build since whatever, third grade. But in fact, I was just looking at some photos the other day. I did a coat of arms, you know, I don't know, Halloween or something. I was dressed up as a knight, and I made a shield with a family coat of arms on it. So I had a symbol for all the 4 people in my family. And my symbol, you know, because I designed it, was a hammer and a nail in third grade. And what I find most fascinating about it is it's not a hammer hitting a nail, it's a hammer pulling out a nail, is what I chose to make my symbol, which is ironic. Who knows? I can't remember doing it specifically, but I don't know. I guess it's indicative of the fact that I knew even then that, yeah, you make something, you might have to take it apart and do it different. You might have to change it. You might have to learn from it and do it slightly differently. But yeah, I have a picture of that shield with a hammer and a nail sticking out of the claw of the hammer.
So you're gonna do this every year, the project out in
Yeah,
Sweden.
yeah, that goes on. Even if I don't show up, it continue. You know,
Yeah,
I found a great crew of people in Switzerland
right,
to do it, and they can now do it themselves.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I think I'll build this next house myself,
right,
with, you know, I'll hire a few people, hopefully some kind of beginner carpenters, so I can teach them as we go. I have been teaching at Yes Tomorrow for forever, for 45 years, so that's also a fun thing to do, I think, is passing on knowledge to
yeah,
a new generation.
cool.
1980 in Warren Village. This is the dam right here, and we built a hydroelectric site that generated 75 kilowatts.
So that movement to build sustainably was big in the late 60s, early 70s, is that it?
Yeah, I'd say it started with the energy crisis, the oil crisis. When was that? 73, I guess, 1973. It's
Oh my God, I love this. Cool. It really is like this is like a galley. I don't know what the term is. It's fun. Sorry, I'm just sort
yeah,
of feeling.
yeah. You can see
Oh wow.
cool counter.
Huh. Cool. Who did these boots?
My daughter did them in college.
Oh, they're awesome.
She was an art major,
And now is
now a filmmaker.
now a filmmaker.
She just moved back here from New Zealand. She was living in New Zealand for the last 10 years.
Oh wow. Oh, I see. So some of this is this art? No.
Yeah,
that's-
all the sculpture is African.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
My father was in the Foreign Service, so we lived in the Ivory Coast, and Bobby was in the Peace Corps in what's now the Congo, used to be called Zaire. So, like that hat with the beads on it is from Zaire.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
We collected art for the Detroit Museum while we were there. And then kept some for ourselves. Happy to show you upstairs too, if you want to brave the stairs with no railing, you know, be careful. it's a great place to work because,
Oh,
you know, from here you can, as I think I mentioned in the movie that Ally made, you can kind of see everything that's going on, but, you know, it's private. You can work up here.
yeah.
That's another view of the house that we built in Warren. One of the houses we built in Warren, not all of them.
So when I'm just sort of curious when you add these elements, and I guess this is, I don't know whether you would know, this, like, it's just like, why not?
Usually it's no. Usually it's a back and forth. So this
yeah.
little bridge here is
Okay, it's a bridge.
because the floor had to be raised in order to get from the living room to the bedroom.
Yeah.
You know, to get around this narrow part, and in order to have headroom on that raised floor, the bridge had to be, you know, give you the headroom to do that.
Right.
So there are probably other ways to do it, but, you know, that was their solution to it. I think in general, the instruction that the students received from John was, okay, I'll show you how to do everything conventionally. I'll tell you the rules of the road, but then see if you can figure out a different way to do it, a more creative way, or a better way to do anything. And it's an exploration.
Yeah. I see. So will you be able to give us like some of your projects? Some of your
Sure, yeah. I mean,
drawings, like pictures?
yeah. In fact, I could maybe
Oh, interesting. Even
Sure.
you're on a slant.
on a what?
You're on an angle.
Yeah. Well, usually drafting surfaces are
Yeah.
on an angle.
Gotta take a picture of you here.
Let's see. Let's try. With luck, there will be some pictures all in one place here. I'm pulling up a lecture that I sometimes give at Yes Tomorrow. So, you know, for example, here, let's make it a little bigger. And I could send you these photos if you want. That's the
Yeah.
first house that we built.
Oh, I love that.
There.
Yeah, that's nice.
There's a floor plan. So it was 2 units. You came in here, and you could either go into this space, which is a little apartment, bedroom, kitchenette, living room, or you can go into this space, you know, another kitchen, living room, and then a greenhouse here, which provided solar heat to the building. That's the greenhouse. And that's how the solar worked. And then we bought that place down by the river and lived in that tiny house for a while, and this is the hydro site that we built. So also with Bill McDonough, who I did the space frame in Switzerland with. He's a much more famous architect than I am. But we purchased this property together, and he was going to live here. He ended up not doing it, but we had a hydroelectric development business. And so this was the smallest one. We had 3 in the Northeast Kingdom. Floor plan, so there's the powerhouse and the dam with the flashboards on it. And then those early sketches of the next house we built up there, which I wanted to make it much smaller, same program, but in a much smaller footprint, which is this. So, and it's 14 feet wide. So this is the second floor that sits on top here. Those are also 14 feet wide. They could be removed and put on a trailer in front of this, so the whole building fits on 2 trailers in case you wanted to move it, which nobody's ever going to move it, but they could. So that's it. And then we built this tower to make our Russian exchange students feel more at home. And with onion dome on top of it. We had horses at the time that we tied to the side of so my partner and I, Rob Bast, we had a business for a while making Clivus Multrum composting toilets. And this is our hydroelectric site in Norton, Vermont. This is a Yestermar project that designed and built. This is made out of adobe bricks, and which is a common construction practice in the Southwest, but this is in South Dakota where sometimes it's hot, but sometimes it's rainy and cold. So the Lakota were not familiar with it as a design system. I think I have a picture here. Yeah, that machine there, you just throw the dirt into it and it has this compactor, kind of like a log splitter, but instead of a wedge on it, it has a flat plate. And it just compacts into these bricks. You can make 2,000 bricks a day. And they're 1,000 PSI, which is approaching the strength of concrete. For, nothing. You can drag it around behind a pickup truck. And then we cut down trees on site and peeled the bark off to make the roof. It's Allie and Sarah, her sister, helping put the sheathing on. This is another Yestermar project. We, along with Thea Alvin, right here, who is an excellent expert mason. I was the architect on the course, and we were restoring like 500, 600, 700-year-old stone buildings in the Alps in Italy. This is the lumber that we got. The construction lumber is okay, I guess we could work with that. and these are the leftover slabs from the quarries that we broke up into pieces, and then we made this formwork and carried the rocks up the hill to the site and built this vault in 3 weeks. Did the whole thing. I was mentioning so here's the development of the Wonder. It's called the Wonder Frame. So we're exploring, looking at, building the hub so that we could stick the straight pieces into it. And you saw this outside. It started out by making these and then migrated to this, just the flattened pieces, and then drew it up as, okay, what if the pieces looked like that? The two kinds, the purple and the yellow. And then started putting it together. And then I had an outfit in Wisconsin make the pieces that we eventually used in Switzerland. And we did kind of a test build of just part of the building in Wisconsin. And there it is in Davos. We built, this is the roof going into place, built the roof over here, and then with a crane lifted it onto the walls that you can see there. And this is the permanent one-story building that we're building on top of. And there you can see what it looks like. That's the inside. And it lights up in, various colors, depending on who's rented it for the day. It's basically a venue for companies to rent and do presentations and promote the good things that they do in the world. These are just a few commercial projects that Bast and Rood did. This is a medical center that we did in Waitsfield, New Hampshire, where the first floor had been totally ruined. It was not salvageable, but the two upper floors were historic and worth saving. So we took the top 2 floors and stored it in the adjacent parking lot and rebuilt the basement and the first floor and then put the 2 floors back on top of it. This is the Mountain View Hotel over in Whitefield, New Hampshire, and maybe you've seen this. This is City Market in Burlington, which we designed. That's the Craftsbury Academy that we did a deep energy retrofit on it, and then added a gymnasium to it. This is Northwind Power Building, Northern Energy Systems, Northern Power Systems, I'm sorry. That is now the headquarters for Cabot Cheese. It's in Waitsfield. And these two are a housing project that we did, an affordable housing project in Heinsberg, Vermont. That's all you get to see. Anyway, so you can see in that were the houses that we've built while we've lived here.
Did you say, I might be confusing, did you say you prefer residential over commercial?
Yeah, I mean, I like it all, but the residential, what's I think fun about it is it whether it's for yourself, actually I like designing for myself most, but I can't afford to constantly build houses for myself. 4 is probably as many as I'll get in my lifetime. But you know, even working with a client, you get to figure out, you know, what is it that they really want? What's their life like? What's going to make their life better?
That's a good feeling too.
Yeah, it's fun. You're dealing with people and the life that they're living. Whereas, you know, if you're designing a school or a food store or whatever, yes, people also are invested in that, and they have to like it and whatnot. And I don't want to downplay it too much, but it's not quite the same involvement as you have on your own house.
Cool. Thanks.
Turn on some light. So, actually, this is in Allie's movie. Me talking about this, so I don't want to mess with her movie too much, but you can see this is a design build opportunity. See the structure of the building, this diamond shape sticks out into the aisle of the kitchen. So, you know, how do you deal with it? You could just have the counter go straight through and there'd be a constant tripping hazard here. But what the students did is responded to that condition by letting the counter stick out here and made drawers and counters and shelves that would respond to that condition.
Yeah, so like the whole form and function kind of works, that whole premise, you know, that you're having to contend with in architecture.
Yeah.
Is definitely encapsulated here. Like you've really
Yeah.
made use of space, you know, design and function as livable.
Architecture is an art. It's a creative art. It differs from painting and pretty much all the other arts. It differs from music. It differs from photography and filmmaking in that you're creating something that hopefully is pleasing to the eye, but also does have to function on some level. You know, if it's a house, you have to be able to live in it. If it's a supermarket, you have to be able to sell food in it. If it's a school, you have to be able to, you know, teach kids in it. So it adds that layer to an artistic endeavor that isn't necessarily there for the other arts. Sometimes it's a stumbling block. You know, it's something you have to work around for sure. There are definitely, in fact, this building may be an example of a building that's gone pretty close to the edge in terms of doing stuff just because it looked really cool and interesting and artistic and sculptural. It's sculptural. But they, you know, they did not lose track of the functionality of it. It's more functional than I even thought it was when I first moved into it. I thought there maybe would be compromises, or, you know, oh yeah, it really looks cool, but it's kind of hard to live in. It's not hard to live in. It's fun to live in.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
Is this?
Cool. So what have you got going on for the rest of the day?
Who knows? Might go over and see how Ellie's doing. She just put in a new bathroom in her house.
Is that her there?
I think pretty interesting. Go too far over there, you'll be in the sun.